Blue Box is a show about... I've read 91 chapters in a day. I don't know what to do with myself now. Spoilers for anime and manga.
Blue Box is a half romance, half sports series. It revolves around the badminton player Taiki and his crush Chinatsu, who moves into his household after her family moves abroad due to her father's job. Chinatsu stays behind to focus on basketball. Now living under the same roof, Taiki and Chinatsu both make a promise to get into the nationals.
Okay, pause. Outside of the combination of sports and romance, this isn't an outstanding premise. When it comes to universal acclaim, it goes usually and rightfully to shows that do something different. Deconstruct the genre or introduce fresh new elements. So first, I'll quickly address what does feel fresh and get to the confusingly derivative part a bit later. No more preamble, I ain't gonna make this longer than needed. What Blue Box does right is, from my experience of just a few modern titles, cause I'm a zoomer, losing is not allowed. You are allowed like one official loss. More than that would mean pretty much a reset to zero or just losing altogether. For Blue Lock, it's the high stakes of the entire premise, and for Haikyu and Kuroko, it's the fact some of the players are third years and will graduate soon, so the league must be won before that. The problem with that, sports don't care about your emotions. Blue Box's sports element is only half the focus and allows it more wiggle room. First is only focusing on the big matches, the rest is not needed. You don't need 17 Joe Schmoes to fill out the whole bracket. And by far the best byproduct, everyone loses. The world doesn't care if this is the last time you're facing a rival you never defeated. It doesn't care how hard you worked your ass off. It doesn't care for your win streak or anything. You will most likely lose. And that reflects on the characters. As while they're disappointed they didn't achieve their goals, they also have to learn to be satisfied with what they achieved and train for their next chance. Characters who we watched grow and fight alongside Taiki for more than 100 chapters leave when their time is over, and new ones enter the spotlight. This is probably the best reflection of high school sports I've seen, making Blue Box my favorite sports anime and manga right now. Funny it's only half the picture. Now to what I really wanna talk about. This is the most by-the-book anime romance I've seen in a long while. Love triangles galore, you know all these characters, progression is slower than the peak of Estonian engineering. The count of misunderstandings is higher than this man's body count.
Holy shit.
And my god, the main character is such a basic shit protagonist I hate. You see her every morning. Every morning. It's not hard to say hi, but despite it, this is one of the most compelling romance manga. Yes, it is just tropes and cliches piled on top of each other, but it gives them the time they need. Sometimes I need shows to really remind me. Tropes are meant to be tools to help an author, not shortcuts for lazy writing. It's like how many times we heard, "We're not so different after all." The most annoying ass trope imaginable. But when they pull that shit off, when the words make sense, when the logic lines up, it hits like a truck.
Rid the universe of your filth. Why don't you just die?
You would make a good tonic.
Okay, I should give some Blue Box examples. Love triangles. I have a massive problem with the fact they exist. Cut. They exist to serve drama, not characters. When it comes to the eventual rejection of one of the girls, I notice how many times the rejection happens, the guy says the words, and disappears into the background. It could be a frozen PNG for all that matters. The focus is on the reaction of the girl. Cry! Cry more! Come on, put your back into it! Who the hell is he? Ben him. But Blue Box does the impossible and uses its characters in the scene. Taiki is the basic Coomer protagonist who can string a sentence together around his crush. And Hina is the teasing childhood friend with a secret crush, but knows the feeling isn't mutual. I swear to fucking god. It was obvious Hina was gonna lose this one. She ain't the poster girl. My sincerest condolences to any supporters. But honestly, shit pick. Okay, off script. For anyone who gravitates to the girls that tease and make fun of the main character in like all romance anime, I think you just want to get plowed by your homies. Okay, back to the point. We know the outcome. So the only purpose left in even having this love triangle is to give everyone involved a big stepping stone in their journey. Hina confessed early on, but told Taiki she doesn't need an answer yet, and Taiki obliged. The problem is that it's just delaying the inevitable. It allows Hina to cling onto false hope and Taiki to save himself from hurting his close friend. This is just an easy temporary solution and both know it. It weighs heavily on Taiki and in the end, he has to fix his indecisive and wishy-washy character. This subplot takes 77 chapters, and in that time, Taiki went from this infuriating, nervous mess to someone who can recognize his flaws and work on them. And now, this is the moment Taiki becomes an actual, likable protagonist for me, as he says everything he feels honestly, even though it's hurting Hina and can have consequences. But it's the right path to take. Even if it's harder for everyone involved. For Hina, it's a hard reality check that forces her to grow in a different direction. Like, jeez man, I feel bad for her. It shouldn't be a hard ask, but why is it refreshing to see a character actually move on with time? And not only that, a third character, Ayame, who was early on characterized with her nosy interest in romance, has to deal with the consequences of her action. She was the one who set up their meeting. Without them knowing, cause she was so sure, so positive. They'd end up together. Yeah, and that blew up in her face. This one event had a big impact on the journeys of 3 characters, which is probably the first time I've seen a love triangle have an actual impact besides writing out one of the girls. Except for Monogatari, I got a kiss some ass. And lo and behold, it's at it again. Here's Kyo, the I don't need a relationship guy. Here's Ayame, collecting boyfriends like they're fucking Pokemon. Both really like each other and both have unhealthy views on relationships on the opposite sides of the spectrum. Let's see what happens if we introduce these two into the dynamic. Though that storyline has yet to conclude. So I'll just move on. It is hard to describe what makes the character so good, except just saying good writing, like that means anything to anyone. So let me make a comparison to fantasy. Now, I think pretty much everyone noticed how fantasy fiction often just assumes you already know everything. You know what orcs, elves and dwarves are, you know how magic works, they don't need to explain it, they can just jump right into it with no preamble. This is especially true in anime land with isekai. So it's a breath of fresh air when we get shows like Frieren and Mushoku Tensei. This is the last time I'm praising Mushoku. Both shows don't really do anything special with their fantasy. Except giving a shit. These magic systems are the same as all the others. But they put in the time so we truly know how the magic feels. We have a rough idea of what demons are. But when they dive into what exactly they are, there is so much more interesting for that. Yes, elves live for an eternity, but how does that affect their personality? What are the languages spoken? A lesser piece of fiction would try to play it off like, well, it's been said 1,000 times, no need to repeat it, sacrificing depth and detail for quicker pacing. I swear this is important to the video. One of the best stories in Frieren is about the Zoltrek. 80 years ago, a powerful demon was sealed away. A maniacal genius with no competition. His greatest spell, Zoltrek, the human killing magic. A spell that can break any barrier. one of the most powerful spells ever made. The seal on the demon is coming loose, and now Frieren, decades later, came to finish what the hero's party wasn't able to. But when her young student Fern first sees this marvel of magic, it is just regular offensive magic. It's been 80 years, and in that time human mages came together, took the spell apart, replicated it, and created new defensive magic to protect against it. Now it is one of the first spells a mage will learn, and wow, doesn't the magic feel so alive now that the offensive magic is so much more than just beams used to attack? Even though that's exactly what they are. The story provides us all the context we need to care. And this is the same feeling I get with Blue Box. Usually an anime is in some way subversive and a great piece of fiction, or it brings nothing new to the table and is pretty boring. I feel bad for generalizing, but that's how it is most of the time. Good writers wanna stand out. Blue Box is one of the few that doesn't need to subvert expectations to stand out. What should feel like generic cardboard cutouts are given the time to feel like real people. Ayame is a romance-obsessed gremlin. Again, Pokémon. She comes into the story as the not-so-willing badminton manager, and through the series, grows into someone who's there to always help the group and back up anyone who needs it. But when she's placed in a situation that might end up in hurt, instead of trying to pursue what would make her happy, she gets scared and returns to her old habits and mentality, because that's who she believes she is. Taiki starts as someone who's awkward around his crush, easily embarrassed and hesitant. But he's not satisfied being that and works on himself every chance he gets. No step-by-step slow progress. He rushes full speed ahead, trying to become the man who he wants to be. And because I'm 11 minutes in and still have yet to talk about the main love interest, Chinatsu starts as a distant girl, focusing purely on basketball. Early on even drawing a line for Taiki, letting him know she ain't interested in romance. This makes her a really unknown character and uncompelling for a good bit of the story. But there's a good reason for it. She had to convince her parents, mainly her father, to let her stay at a family friend's house while they moved abroad because of work, with the sole reason of continuing basketball. But with that came pressure. Her father put trust in her, so she can't afford to fool around. She has to produce results. All of them are characters you probably already saw, know who they are, and expect everything they will be. But it doesn't mean much, because they are genuine. Their struggles feel authentic. The author put in the time and effort to display how they think. What drives them, what makes them tick, what makes them sick. Building upon the established base instead of hitting copy and paste like so many others. Okay, I feel a bit mean with how I'm slandering like a vast number of writers completely unprovoked. I'm not the one getting paid, guess who's winning at the end of the day. I stand behind everything I said. A lot of writers are just bad. Because writing something good is a Herculean task. I do these videos mostly because of my interest in the craft of writing. And while I think my knowledge might be good enough, I'd say, maybe, I cannot even hope to write anything above a 5 out of 10, at least in my eyes. Writing something with a start, middle and end is one thing. But writing something that seamlessly imbues all your feelings and emotions into your work is another. We don't usually realize this, cause the average person only watches mostly what's good. But a writer as skilled as Koji Miura is a rarity, the top 1%, and you can truly feel that in the relationship between Taiki and Chinatsu. The bond between Chi and Taiki feels so natural. Watching as with every glance, smile, joke, they grow a deeper understanding of each other and fall more in love, together becoming better people. You can really see how Chinatsu loosens up, And having someone to share her worries allows her to focus more on her dreams than ever before. Taiki steals his resolve and works harder than he ever could. They perfectly bring the best out of each other, both as lovers and as athletes. If there's one thing Blue Box wants to communicate, it's this balance, this team effort. It made such an impression on me, I made my first fan art. It ended up fucking horrible, don't look at it. Romance anime is often looked down upon as unrealistic wish fulfillment. And Blue Box definitely doesn't clear that bar. Realistic romance anime is an oxymoron, as someone with lots of experience. But the strength of art is not in how well it can replicate our reality. It's about how well it can communicate feelings and ideas. And the Blue Box not only succeeded in clearing that bar, but took flight. It's all about being the best possible people for yourself and each other. Paired with the time and attention they give to every overplayed trope and how much they humanize these cookie-cutter archetypes, transforming it all into a believable, compelling and relatable story. That's what makes Blue Box stand out. That's what makes it feel fresh and special. That's what makes it good enough for me and my friend to start a cult around our Lord and Savior, Taiki. We seriously fucking love him. I've been at a dive, once again reporting on a new obsession I find every few months. And I hope you enjoyed this video. See you next time.